Now, of course, that's really important that we do forgive one another, because otherwise you get all these terrible divisions between us. There was one of my great successes, which always makes me feel so happy. When I was in Brisbane about 3 years ago, I went to somebody's house for lunch, a very devout Buddhist. But his younger son told me that his elder brother and the father had had a big argument about 7 years ago. And the father and son had not spoken to each other since. And if they met on the street by accident, they would cross the street, avoid one another. A father and son for 7 years had not forgiven each other. And when I heard that from the younger brother, I said, "Have you got your elder brother's phone number?" He said, "Yes." "Call him and tell him he is summoned by Ajahn Brahm to the house. He must come or face the karmic consequences." I was only kidding, but I said I really wanted him to come. So the elder son came, and the father was there. And I put both of them right in front of me. And I asked the father, "What actually happened?" And he said, "Actually, I can't remember." The son, "Do you remember?" "No." "But I don't like my father. I don't like my son." And so I taught them how to forgive. And I told them to actually, it is always a junior's job, the son, in this case, bow to your father. Bow. And say, "Father, whatever I have done by body, speech and mind, intentional or by mistake," because so often the hurt is done unintentionally. We don't mean to hurt people, but it's taken the wrong way. Or things which I should have done, which I didn't do. I ask forgiveness of you. And in Buddhism, this is actually in the sutras. If somebody asks forgiveness of you, you're obliged to give forgiveness. You can't say, "No, that really is bad karma," when somebody asks forgiveness with sincerity and you don't give it. And then the father's job to say to the son, "Son, whatever I've done, I can't remember what it was, but which hurt you, which upset you by body, speech or mind, I too ask forgiveness of you. I'm a human being, I make mistakes as well." And the son had to forgive their father. And I always remember that about 6-9 months ago, the two of them were in Perth, and they came together to pay respects to me. They've been best of friends ever since that day. And I'm so proud that using good teachings, you can get a father and a son who've been estranged for 7 years to forgive each other and actually love each other once again. They really wanted to do that. I always encourage, unfortunately I don't live in Singapore, so I can't do this to you, but whenever there's marriage ceremonies, they always invite me to come and bless their marriages. Even Christians. Because they say, "Well, I don't know, we don't believe in Buddhism, but whatever you say, it always makes a lot of sense, so can you come as well?" And one of the things I get the couple to promise, if I'm going to bless you, you have to promise to follow this little piece of advice. Once a year, on your anniversary, and I ask you to do this here, any of you who are married, on your anniversary, I want you to do a forgiveness ceremony. Which what I mean is that on your anniversary, now in private, you get a little gift for each other, nothing expensive, just a token gift. And you can take turns who does it first. Say the man does it to the wife first. Next year the wife does it for the husband. The husband offers the gift to the wife and says, "Darling, if there's anything which I have done over the past 12 months, by body, by speech, even by thought, intentional or accidentally, which may have hurt you, or irritated you, or disappointed you, I'm sorry, I ask forgiveness. Or if there's things I should have done, which I didn't do, I forgot, I'm asking forgiveness from you. I'm a human being. I made mistakes. But my love for you means I ask you to forgive me. And the wife has to forgive. And then the wife has to say to the husband, if there's anything which I have done to you by body, speech or mind, intentional or unintentional, or things I should have done which I didn't do, which has hurt you, I too ask forgiveness of you. And you forgive your wife. Which means once a year, at least once every 12 months, we ask forgiveness of each other. What we're doing is remembering that we are not perfect human beings, that we will do something, we will say something, or we'll fail to do something which hurts each other. That's part of life. But we're not going to take that past our anniversary. So instead of keeping this terrible hate, this resentment, which kills a marriage and also creates things like cancer inside of us, it creates this terrible sense of lack of happiness. At least once a year, we can ask forgiveness of each other. In monasteries, we do that every time I leave a monastery. We ask forgiveness of each other in case something happens. So we never ever carry the hurt of the past into the future. We forgive, which is another way of saying we let go. And you feel so free afterwards. Now when it comes to something else which is even more difficult, it is forgiving yourself. So many people have got skeletons in their closet. Bad things which they have done, which they don't want anybody to know. But be careful, because some monks can read minds. Some monks can get into those closets and find exactly what you've done. But don't worry. But there's one person which can read your mind, and that's you. So is there anything inside of you which you haven't forgiven yet? If there is, that's going to cause you a lot of lack of self-confidence, a lack of pain, not being able to sleep at night, oh, I did this terrible thing. Can we not free ourselves of that by forgiving ourselves? And how this happens, a technique to do this, is from the title of that first book, Opening the Door of Your Heart. Just to go briefly through that, it's a powerful story. I keep using it and keep expanding it. When I retell stories, I usually use it in different ways to actually expand how we can do, in this case, very deep forgiveness. My father, when I was 13, took me aside and told me, son, there's something important I need to tell you. And that is, whatever you do in your life, however you turn out, whether I'm proud of you or ashamed of you, I always want you to remember this one thing, that the door of my house will always be open to you. That's what he said. I was only 13, a male, not mature in my emotions. All I knew, it was important, and I remembered it. It was only years and years later, as a monk, I started thinking about that, and understood, first of all, he did not mean his house. Because his house was what we call in London a council flat. It was so small, and we hardly had any possessions. I was legitimately poor. The primary school I went to was all migrant kids. I never realized at the time because I judged myself by my friends. But we were poor. And in fact, my father used to say, no need to lock the door. We weren't afraid of burglars. In fact, my father was saying he hoped a burglar would come in, take pity on us and leave something. The burglars were more well off than we were. So we were poor. And I realized he could not have meant the door of his house. That was only a metaphor. What he meant, and this just, wow, as soon as I realized this, he meant, son, whatever you do in your life, however you turn out, the door of my heart will always be open to you. I'll never take my love away from you. You're my son, and that is enough. Even when I think about that now, it gives me goosebumps. The first time that I understood unconditional love and how freeing, how peaceful, how joyful that was. And I've expanded that over the years, giving it to people who've hurt me, giving it to even people I don't know, giving it to everybody in this room, no matter what you say, no matter what you do. Honestly, the door of my heart is always open to you. I'll never reject you. But then you had to take it further. And the next step was the most amazing. To realize that everybody at one time, or even more times in their life, has to say that to themselves. To say, me, this person I can never escape from. Even if you travel all over the world like I do, wherever my plane lands, there I am again. Whatever hotel room I wake up in, I'm back again. I can never escape from me. So I tell myself, me, with all of my faults and all of my good qualities, and I've got faults as well, everybody has, me, the door of my heart, will always be open to me, no matter what I do, no matter all my mistakes, all my achievements. I give myself unconditional acceptance and love. I forgive me. And as soon as you do that, that is an amazing experience. It opens up the possibility of happiness, self-respect, self-esteem. At last you realize you're good enough. And then happiness can start in your life. How many of you have trouble with relationships with your partner? One of the biggest reasons is because you haven't got a good relationship to yourself. So many people, every psychologist knows this, they start a relationship, everything is going well, and they subconsciously destroy it. Why? Because they don't think they deserve to be happy. Lack of self-esteem. Even in meditation. This story, I'd just been to a nuns' conference, hanging out with hundreds of nuns. I was the only monk there yesterday, until the evening when a couple of other monks came. And there's hundreds of nuns. But anyway, there's this nun was meditating in my retreat centre in Perth, and she told me she was getting really deep meditation, really deep, but there was a blockage. She couldn't go that next step, into these real jhanas. And I couldn't figure it out myself. I was giving all the teachings, I couldn't understand why. You're so close, you can't make that tiny step into these incredible meditations. And then in an interview she told me, she said, I found out why I can't do this. It is because I don't think I deserve to be so happy. I don't think I deserve enlightenment. And when I heard that, that hurt me so much. But it also opened up why, whether it's in meditation, in your career, in your marriage, why you keep messing up. Because you don't think you deserve to be successful. You don't think you deserve to be happy. Because you're still carrying around guilt from the past. You haven't forgiven yourself. You haven't opened up the door of your own heart to yourself. Which means you can never find real success, happiness, and even achievement in life. Achievement, I don't mean being CEOs and multi-wealthy. I mean the achievement which I've achieved. Happiness, peace. This sort of achievement, this success of happiness. And even more than that, I've used that story to incredibly powerful effect. Because over in Australia we have an organisation, I was talking about this a couple of days ago in Magalang in central Java. I have been helping out an organisation called ASSETS. It's an acronym for Australian Society of Survivors of Torture and Trauma. People who come from these very dark places in our world, who have been tortured, multiple raped, abused, and some of the stories which you hear, these people tell, it makes your skin crawl. There's what one human being can do to another. I can't understand it, but it happens. And some of these people have survived. And they've been given refugee status in countries like Australia or hopefully in Singapore. Yes, their body is free, but their minds are still in that torture chamber where they were brutally given pain. Day after day, raped and raped and raped. They come and they have to find out some way that not only their bodies can be free, but their minds as well. And that is where this story of opening the door of your heart is one of the few methods which actually works. So what I tell these people, the survivors, to do, when they are ready, when they feel safe, when they've got enough courage to do this, is to close your eyes and imagine in your chest a heart. Not a heart which a doctor knows, but a heart which they have on Valentine's Day cards. You know, a heart which you can imagine, simple, pointed at the bottom with a little bit of cleavage on the top. Now, that heart, imagine it in your chest. And imagine that has two doors which have been locked. Imagine throwing those two doors open, just like the doors in the exit here, throwing them open. And imagine a staircase coming down from that heart to the ground. And you, the part of you that you respect, you are proud of, the happy part of you, is standing at the top, inside your heart. And you look down the bottom, and there is that little girl who was raped by their uncle. There is a young man who's picked up in the middle of the night and sent to some underground complex where they're tortured and tortured and tortured. That man is outside. That young woman is outside. You haven't allowed them to come in to your heart. And those people down there, which are part of you, that's who you are. That's down in the bottom, rejected, afraid, terrified. And you invite them up the staircase. You invite them up. And you imagine them with almost terror, just walking up that staircase. And the other part of you, the happy part, he embraces them. Come in. You are part of me. You are my history. Come in to my heart. And every one of these little rejected people eventually finds a place inside this person you are, and is given love rather than rejection or fear. When people do that, it's amazing what happens. Now, their body is not the only thing which is free. Their mind is free. And the door to happiness is wide open to them. They can go and get married, have kids, have a great career. They never hide their abuse anymore. They're never ashamed of it. In fact, I love telling this story. This was one woman who was really badly raped. And she's open about it. She's come to peace with it. She's forgiven it. Not the sense of, she thinks that those people who did that should, get off scot-free. Karma will get them. But she's embraced her past. And when she was telling one of these other young men what happened to her in my centre in Perth, and the other young man said, "That's terrible what happened to you," this woman turned on him and said, "What are you saying? You've got no right to say that. A terrible thing. You don't know what you're talking about." And she said, "It has made me who I am. I embrace, don't ever say that. It's a terrible thing." And that was so powerful to see that. There was a woman who had gone to the other side of forgiveness. And she was one hell of a woman. Really proud, strong, spiritually a superwoman because of what she'd gone through. She transformed. But if you have anger, rejection, you will never get to that place. And I say these are extreme cases. So at least you can do that. It doesn't matter what you've done in your life. I mean that. Who you are. That part of you which you haven't forgiven yet is the part which is stopping you being happy, successful, fulfilled as a woman, as a man. Notice that person. They're outside, rejected, forbidden. Imagine that staircase and invite them in. And my father said, "Son, whatever you do, whatever happens to you, the door of my heart's always open." Say that to yourself. Whoever I am, whatever my past, whatever's happened, come in. Then you are at peace with yourself. That is called loving yourself. Doesn't mean liking yourself. I think it's a wonderful thing which has happened. It's easy to love nice things. It's being able to embrace the pain, the disappointment. That is what love is. That's what compassion is. And if you can do that, you transform. And once you do that to yourself, you can transform the people you live with. You're not so critical and fault-finding anymore. In fact, you can open the door of your heart to almost anyone. That's compassion. May all beings be happy and well. All of them. That can be done. And that transforms all beings. When you are their friend, they can no longer be an enemy. And that's where forgiveness reaches its peak. You've forgiven yourself, you forgive others. It doesn't mean you don't make progress, you allow bad things to continue. Amnesty. No punishments. Punishment will come by itself. Your job is to forgive, to embrace. And the incredible, powerful effect of such love in changing people, changing the world, is something which we really don't understand. I said at the time, I remember saying this in Taiping Center. I remember I got banned from Taiping Center in Lavender Road. The reason was I had so many people there that they're afraid that they get their license revoked for breaking all their fire regulations. I was too popular, that's why I got banned. But I do remember that time, just after 9/11. They were asking me, Ajahn Brahm, what would you have done if you were President Bush after 9/11? And I said I'd gone on the TV straight away and said I feel so much sympathy, the pain of people who've lost their lives. Whoever did this, I forgive you. I offer forgiveness on behalf of the American people and all the other nationalities who died in those Twin Towers. I forgive you. Violence has gone too far already. No more violence. And I always imagine what would have happened if someone had been strong enough, wise enough and inspired enough to do something like that. And I could imagine all over the Middle East, people would be striding through the streets, not with photos of Osama bin Laden, with President Bush. Forgiveness is so powerful. And never underestimate its power. Try it on yourself first of all. And once you've tried it on yourself and realize how powerful it is, how it frees you to live a productive, happy life for yourself and others, then try it on others. It really works. Thank you.